Hi everybody. Okay, so this morning and yesterday I focused on the Cambridge exams, the advanced, some use of English, but now I want to concentrate a little on some business English specifically, okay? So I'm going to share the screen and I have chosen a an article from the BBC. Okay, so if you can see this website, you can see it's the BBC News and it's business, and the title is UK shares jump as market react to Brexit deal. Okay, so there's the photograph and the text below you can see. So I'm going to show you my picture that I have prepared already. Okay, so here is the article. So I'm going to talk to you about each word and each individual underlined word to give you some advice and some tips for understanding English, probably in relation to general English and business English, but also the Cambridge exams and typical preposition combinations, phrasal verbs, vocabulary, grammar, verb tenses, and things like this. Okay, so if we look at the first part, it says the UK stock markets have jumped in their first trading session after the Christmas break. Okay, so the first point is that the stock markets in Spanish is la bolsa. So the stock market here is the translation, as I said, for bolsa. I'm just going to identify it there. Have jumped, the verb is to jump, which is saltar, but this structure in green is the present perfect. We have the auxiliary verb have in the present in relation to stock markets, and then we have the participle jumped. So it's the present perfect because it's something that started in the past, but it's relevant to the present because it continues in a sense. Because the stock markets have jumped in their first trading session. So trading session, no problem, but the verb to trade is like to do business. So I'm going to write here in the vocabulary at the bottom, the verb to trade, it's like to do business. Okay, so to exchange or to do business. And that is the translation there. Their trading session. So this word also is the possession. For example, we have my, your, his, her, our, your and their trading session. Okay, so that's the possessive pronoun, trading session. So if we continue to the second paragraph, it was the investor's first chance. So the key here is the first opportunity, the first chance. And S with the apostrophe, that's for the possession. So normally we have the apostrophe and S. I'm going to continue with the typing here. For example, Brian's book. But in this situation, it's the plural because it's the investor is singular. But then we have plural investors. So investors book singular. But if it's plural, we say investors with the apostrophe and the book. And that's the general rule in the plural and possession situation. So you can see in the text, that is what we have here. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the drawing. So that is the investor's first chance. To react is like to respond. How do you react or how do you respond to the Brexit trade deal? Okay, reaccionar, I think in Espanol, it's very similar. And a deal is like a trato. Okay, so it is a verb to deal, but in English, normally we say to make a deal. And in this situation, it's the substantive. It's the Brexit trade deal. Okay, so let me move the text over a little to the left so you can see the picture. And we can continue. So it was investors' first chance to react to the Brexit trade deal with the EU since markets closed early on Christmas Eve. So on is the preposition, and normally we say for a day, we use on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, for example, and Christmas Eve is the day or the night or the evening before Christmas Day. So Christmas Eve really is the 24th of December. And for that day, we use on the preposition. Also, in relation to since, usually there's a difference between from and since. And normally when the moment is a particular moment in the past, we say since. So I have started working this morning. Sorry, I have started working since 8 o'clock this morning. So usually it's the present perfect, and that's the reason I said have started. So since 8 o'clock, it's one moment in the morning, but from, it's necessary to. I was working this morning from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So that's the difference, from, to, and since, just a particular moment. Okay, and then the outcome, that's difficult vocabulary, but it's very important. The outcome is the result or the consequence. So what was the outcome of the football match? What was the outcome of the meeting? What was the outcome? What was the result? And what was the consequences of the action? The next verb is to emerge. And I'm going to show you the translation here in word reference. So the verb is to emerge. And in Spanish, it's salir, aparecer, emerger, I think. So that is the verb to emerge. So obviously it's very similar in Spanish, so that should not be a problem. And that is the first paragraph, okay? So first sentence. No problem, I think. And then the FTSE 100, that is the Bolsa in the UK. That's the name of the stock market in the UK. Rose is very important. It's from the verb to rise. So the verb in English is to rise, which is very similar to increase, and rose is the past. It's irregular, and it's from the verb to rise, which is very similar to incrementar, to increase, and to grow, all synonyms to that. About is the translation for approximately. So it rose, it increased approximately 2.3%, while mientras, the 250 share index, so the share is accione, accionista is a shareholder, so the share is the acción, okay, was up, and that's the past simple of the verb to be, was up, no problem, increased, high, growing, more than 2.2%. Okay, that's the second sentence. The third sentence, but is pero, no problem, banking shares, acciones. The most difficult word here is the verb to tumble. So the verb here is in the past with ed, but the significance of the verb to tumble, I'm going to type it here to show you the infinitive, is usually with the children on the hill, they tumble. Tumble is this action, and the definite translation here is in Spanish, caer, caer, say very similar to fall. Okay, so the tumble is a more advanced way to say fall, and it's good vocabulary for business English. The price has tumbled, the price has fallen. Across is the preposition, across the road, and across Europe is like a través Europe, very similar to a través, but a través is through, and across is this movement for a preposition. As normally is como, but here it could be while, mientras. Also, it has the meaning of mientras or because. And I think here it's mientras. So across Europe, mientras, worries, that's the substantive in the plural. So the verb is to worry. Okay, the substantive is a worry, and then the plural is worries. And that's what we have here. Mientras, worries. And let me return to the object. Persisted, I think that's very similar in Spanish, about the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on global economy. So impact is connected with on. Usually that's the situation. For example, what was the impact on the football team? What was the impact on the result? What was the impact on the manager? That's the typical preposition we have with impact. And in this situation, it's the global economy. What was the impact on the global economy? Okay, so that's the third sentence. Not too difficult, but very good English. A few really good examples. Tumbles, for example. Outcome, very good. Deal, and rose. For me, they're the four key words from the first three sentences. The next sentence, banks accounted for, that's very similar in Spanish, 4 of the 5 biggest fallers. So the verb is caer, very similar to tumble, but the suffix is very important. The faller is the person or the stock, accione, and that's the suffix that's very important. Again, the verb is to fall, but the faller is the person or the object or the subject that is doing the falling. Okay, and impact we had on, what was the impact on the global economy? But here we say on in relation to the FTSE 100. So the new company have entered the FTSE 100 and the list is on the FTSE 100, okay? With the worst hit, Lloyd's, okay? So worst is related to bad. We normally say bad, mal, peor, el peor, worst, okay? And the other verb is to hit, golpear. And in this situation in the text, we can see it together. Worst hit, okay? So that's the worst hit. One word, and this object is the hyphen. And when you have the hyphen, that connects two words to make one word. So this example, worst hit, is actually one full adjective. Lloyd, suffering, the verb souffrir, and near, almost, casi. And again, we have the hyphen, so it's one word, and near 4%, one word, adjective, drop. So drop is gotiar. The verb to drop is gotiar. Again, it's very similar to fall, and it's very similar to tumble. So they are the three synonyms, really, of the same significance. And again, in this case, a drop is the substantive. Okay? The next sentence, one analyst, Shanti Kellyman from Brown Shipley, put the falling UK bank shares down to no agreement on financial services equivalency in the Brexit deal. This is a very interesting expression, and it's very difficult. It's very advanced, and I hope you can understand it. Maybe you need time to study it, but this is the connection. Put something down to another thing. Okay, so that's the connection. Put something down to. I'll give you a couple of examples here in the text. So in the football, again, I put the defeat down to the manager. So down to is the movement, and it's related to responsibility. So it's not my responsibility. The players, no, not the player's responsibility. It's down to the manager. The manager is the most important person, so he has the responsibility, and that's the expression here. The analyst Shanti put the falling, which is caer, so the responsibility of the fall is the responsibility, or the reason is for no agreement on the financial service equivalency. So it's a bit technical, very specific, very financial explanation, but the first phrasal verb, put something down to, is very, very important. And I'll give you my example. As I said, I put the defeat in the football match down to the manager. So it was the manager's responsibility, not the players, not me, not the supporters. Put down to the manager. That's the basic, more basic example. Okay, so that sentence or paragraph is a bit specific financially and a little difficult. The final paragraph, however, is sin embargo. That's a linker and very common, very flexible. You can use it in many situations. Simon French of Panmure Gordon pointed out. That's another phrasal verb. It's like apuntar in Espanol, but also similar to identificar. So he identified, he pointed out that trading was, and I'll just move this text so you can see it, thin. Okay, very important vocabulary, even by the usual standards. And let me, there we go, sorry. So that sentence to repeat. However, Simon French of Panmure Gordon pointed out, apuntar, that trading was thin, delgado. Okay, so delgado, very thin, not a lot of quantity. It's very small, very thin, delgado. Even incluso por, even by the usual standards, very important word, like nivel in Espanol, level, the regular level that you need, the standard. That's the bar, that's another word, the bar or the standards of this time of year. Expectations is another synonym, perhaps. Okay, so the usual market narratives are even, again, incluso, and shakier is very, very good vocabulary. And I'm going to show you here the explanation, because the verb is to shake, and we normally say to shake hands, como dar Hermano, but in this case, the adjective is shaky. Something is very shaky, like unstable, the opposite of stable. It's very shaky. And in this case, it's the same. It's almost a synonym for unstable. So the sentence is, the usual market narratives are even shakier than normal. So they're even more unstable. Okay, so that's very good. It's very normal English, very specific for finance, but it's typical in a newspaper, typical every day, very fast, very fluent, and very fluid also. It's a very good example. So that's the first part. And just to repeat, UK stock markets have jumped in their first trading session after the Christmas break. It was investors' first chance to react to the Brexit trade deal with the EU, since markets closed early on Christmas Eve, hours before the outcome emerged. Okay, the FTSE 100 rose about 2.3%, while the 250 share index was up more than 2.2%. The banking shares tumbled across Europe as worries persisted about the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the global economy. Banks accounted for 4 of the 5 biggest fallers on the FTSE 100, with worst hit Lloyds suffering a near 4% drop. Okay, one analyst, Shanti Kellerman from Brown Shipley, put the falling UK bank shares down to no agreement on financial services equivalency in the Brexit trade deal, or the Brexit deal. And in is the typical preposition we have for a deal. Okay, and the final sentence, however, Simon French of Panmure Gordon pointed out that trading was thin even by the usual standards of this time of year. Usual market narratives are even shakier than normal. Okay, very good. So if we continue to the next page, which is the final page, and the topic is the vaccine boost. So the pronunciation of the vaccine is very important, especially in Spanish. It's a different sound to your word. So vaccine in English is difficult for Spanish people, and it's necessary to be correct. Boost is almost like mejorar, to improve. In the morning, you take coffee to have an energy boost. You need a boost of confidence, like an increase of confidence, and a vaccine boost in relation to the market. The vaccine gives an impact and an increase to the market. Okay. So the first paragraph, among, is almost like con. There's a very little difference between among and amongst. Two prepositions, among and amongst, they're almost the same and very similar to with. Okay, maybe a little more formal, amongst, and a little older English, and among is almost the same. So we go back to the text, among the biggest risers, and this is the verb to rise, like increase, as I said in the previous paragraph. And the reason to separate the suffix, rise is the verb and the riser is the person or the thing doing the increase. The preposition for the city, we say in Madrid, in Barcelona, in Dublin, in London. Okay, so usually for a city or a country, we say the preposition in. Was drug firm AstraZeneca? So drug is no problem. Everybody, I think, understands that. A firm is another word for a company or a business. So the drug firm is the drug company or the drug business, AstraZeneca. It's very typical in law. We have a law firm, which is the body or the company or the association that represents the people for the lawyers, abogados. Okay. Which relative pronoun? Gain is very similar to ganar, very similar to ganar, but it's something you receive, and it's the past simple, regular, gained, ed, 4.3% on reports. That's the typical preposition with reports on that the government is poised. Okay, this is very colorful vocabulary, very advanced, very proficient, and very colorful. And I'm going to show you the translation, because in Spanish, the best translation for this would be, okay, balanced or ready. Maybe sereno, I think, might be the closest in that situation, but it's a very good word. They're poised, they're ready to approve its COVID vaccine. Paving the way, again, this is very, very good. Okay, so paving the way, you can see here, Maybe you recognize pavement, acero in Espanol, or the path. Pavement is maybe more in the USA. So there is a verb to pave your garden. It's similar to put the stone in your garden, like to make the way. And that's exactly the situation here. So they're making the way for UK citizens to receive it. So you need to think, what exactly is it reference to here? It, I think, is the vaccine. Okay, so it is in relation to the vaccine as early as next week. Okay, that's a good quality, very, very good quality paragraph. And it's something I hope you can understand and take time to read again and try to really understand. Okay, the next sentence, shares acciones, as we said, for viaje, travel shares, also benefited from, and the typical preposition with benefit is benefit from. I benefit from the hot weather in Spain. You benefit from the good food in the restaurant. So it's very typical, benefit from, market optimism. For me, this word is very key, and it's something that's simple, but also very advanced and very important. So I'm going to show you in the text here. The verb is to lead, como liderar in Espanol, and the past is led. Okay, liderar, as I said, is the translation in Spanish. The verb to lead, and led is the past. So in this situation, the shares, acciones, were led in the past by the group, the hotel group, international continental hotels. Okay, which climb is a sport, usually a climb the wall, and it's exactly the same situation here, which increased. It's a synonym for increase or grow or gained, another synonym for that. And again, it's the past simple because it's ed, 4.4%. This one is the possession. So in the previous page, we saw the plural with the S and the apostrophe, but here it's singular, London, and it's possession. The rise, the increase, is the possession of London. Well, the market, the bolsa. Here's the substantive. So remember, it is a verb to rise, but in this situation, it's the substantive, the rise. Again, the preposition for the day is Tuesday, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Christmas Eve, we saw in the previous slide. Followed gains, so we had that already. Gained is the past simple, but gain here in the second example is the plural in the substantive. On for the day, on Monday. For the main markets or the principal markets, mercados, main street, the principal street, mainstream is related to the principal importance. So main is the principal or the most important market in Frankfurt and Paris, as well as como también on Wall Street. Okay, good. So that's that sentence. The next sentence, Frankfurt's DAC index and the Paris CAC 40, both, ambos in Espanol, ambos, both, continue their, again, possession, my rally, your rally, his rally, their, plural, their rally. This word is very important, very colorful, very advanced, similar in level to poised, and similar in this level, expression paving the way. And rally basically is to increase dramatically. It's related to politics. If the politician is motivating the people, he is rallying the people, encouraging, motivating, and here it's exactly the same. In relation to the market, it rallies, it's motivated, a big movement of momentum, okay? The best translation I will find for you in word reference is rally, and it will be related to markets, political, car, exchange of shots in support, rise in stock prices. Okay, repunte, recuperación del mercado. That's definitely the translation here. But it's very typical, as I said, in political gathering and maybe for car race, rally. A lot of car race supporters will be familiar with that expression. So very good vocabulary, very advanced and impressive if you can use it correctly. And then each is cada uno, each adding about 0.4%. Earlier, más pronto, shares, acciones in Asia. Again, this is very colorful vocabulary. The verb is to surge, like to increase, dramatically increase. Typical with electricity, you can have a power surge. It's like a strong increase of electricity. And here it's the same. It's the past simple. Surged in is the preposition, but not for the day. In is related to trading. Okay, so in trading. And again, trading is like exchange or the commerce, as we said. With Japan's Nikkei closing more than 2.6% higher. Invest is the verb, to invest your money, invertir in Espanol, but the suffix investor is the person. Okay, so the person is the investor, and investment is the substantive, and invest is the verb invertir. So investor sentiment or feeling has also been, so that's the, well, this is a very interesting expression structure. Take time to try and analyze this. So the verb is boy, and I think in Spanish you have a similar word, a similar expression, but it's like float, flotar, very similar to floated, and it's related to the market again. And this is the participle, the ed, boyd. Also we have by, so this is probably the structure of the passive. And remember, for the passive, you need the verb to be, auxiliary verb to be, participle of the verb, and by the president. So the subject, the person doing the action, is the president, and the object is investor sentiment. Okay, so basically the active, President Trump buoyed investor sentiment. But if you change it to the passive, we say investor sentiment, the auxiliary to be has been buoyed also, and the participle buoyed by the US president. Okay, very good example, very advanced, but a good example of the passive. Agree is the verb, but be careful. In English, we say, I agree with you. I disagree with you in the negative. I agree is the structure. In Spanish, you say, estoy de acuerdo. So it's very different structure. The incorrect expression, I am agree. That's the incorrect typical error. So the correct structure is, I agree with you, or I disagree with you in the negative. And here it's agreeing in the gerundio. Agreeing to release, like enviar, to send or liberate. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Also, release is related to music and the cinema. They have a new release, is a new movie, como estrenar. And very important, if the animal is in the cage, you want to release, like liberate the animal. And that's the few significances of that word release. In this case, it's money, to release hundreds of billions of dollars in pandemic spending support. He had previously refused. He is the subject. Previously is related to the time marker. The verb is had refused. So we have the auxiliary have in the past and the participle refused. That is the past perfect, okay? So the past perfect is a moment in the past, a period in the past before another action in the past. And that's another situation here. He had refused previously to sign off on the deal. Sign is firmar. Sign off is a phrasal verb, and it's very similar, really. It's very common with a deal, a trato. So probably it's common with a president to sign off. The significance of the preposition off is that it's finished, to sign off, and everything's ready. You can send, and it's finished on the deal. Okay, so very good vocabulary in this page, very interesting. And the final sentence, the pound, libra in Espanol, from England, the pound started strongly, but then slipped. And slip is typical with the banana. If you're walking on the street and you walk on the banana, you slip. Okay, so slip is that action. If something's very wet, it's slippy, adjective slippy. And here it's related to the price, it's slipped. It's very similar to caer, fall again, okay? So it slipped back like caer. Trading 0.1% lower against the euro at 1.1 euro 10 cent. It was up against, and against is contra, the dollar at $1.34.3488 cents. Okay, very interesting, good quality vocabulary. That's the 2 pages. I'm going to show you again. So we had page 1 here, the UK stock market, and page 2. And let me show you if I can check from the BBC. I think I closed the page, but it's from the BBC, page 1 and page 2. And lots of very good vocabulary and very interesting expressions. And it's more business related, financial related, and specific for professional vocabulary. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and hopefully I can prepare a few more soon. Apologize for the camera, the blur, nebulado, a little nebulado, cloudy or blurry occasionally. But thank you for watching the video. Thank you for liking the video. And if you have any comments, please put your message on the Facebook post, or any questions, and I can try to answer them there. Okay, thank you very much, and have a good day, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.